All right, welcome everybody to this webinar on the ultimate guide to email marketing. My name is Orhan McMillan. Myself and Allison Blanchard will be presenting this to you today. What I do, since there's so many participants, I have to put everybody on mute, but I do want to encourage questions and comments and feedback. So if you notice in your login, there's a chat feature. I see that Allison has already welcomed everyone here. Please feel free to use that as I'm going through the slides in the presentation. I'll definitely make a note of taking my time. But if there's something you want to go back to, or if there's something you'd like to expand on further, don't hesitate to ask in the chat area. And so again, thank you guys for joining, and looking forward to spending a little time today and talking a little bit more about email marketing and how it's used, best practices. We've got a really great agenda. So again, we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Orhan McMillan. I'm manager and founding partner of Designs Interactive. We operate out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Had the business now about 18 years. This is the one plug you'll hear from me about the company, and that's it. We're a branding, web, and marketing company servicing small to medium-sized businesses, not only in Baton Rouge, but South Louisiana and throughout the United States. And so one of the things that we do for clients and customers is marketing. That's the third leg of our services, and thus email. We've been using email marketing internally and for clients now because it really is a successful way to get your message out there, to track. It's one of the most return on investment ways of doing digital marketing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the agenda today is we're going to kind of touch on, there's so many pieces to email marketing itself, but we're going to try to give a little bit of an overview in the time together of some useful information. So one is getting started. I'll go through some basics on that. And then we will look at email marketing best practices and what that involves for both receivability, conversion, etc. Email regulations to follow, things that we want to keep in mind to keep us out of spam folders or keep us from being listed as a spamming email or company or business. Another very important part is analyzing your email marketing results. We're going to look at the data that's involved in that because that's a great way. It's actually the best way to really look and see how your results are proving for you in these campaigns that you do. Email marketing tips for small and medium-sized businesses. And then some email marketing services that I know one particular one, two particular ones we use. But there's a lot of services that you can use, subscription-based, that help manage and organize and track your email marketing work. So here and here. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit. So 1978, first email was sent. That's a long time ago, but email isn't as shiny as some of the newer channels like text messaging and social, but it really is one of the most effective ways to build an owned audience that really gets results. And absolutely positively, email is not dead. It is not. It is one of the few marketing channels that can build authentic human connections with our customers and our consumers, etc. It really is. It's a relationship. When someone enters into that unspoken relationship with you by providing their email address, there's an understanding, there's an agreement, I like to say, that they're providing you with their email address. And so therefore you have to return that with good content, valuable, non-spammy, non-irritating emails because they're obviously interested in what you have to say or what you're selling or what your product or service is. And so it's a relationship that you're entering into that's very important. And there's so many ways of just using it. You can build it for existing customer relationships, people that you're already doing business with. And you can do that by providing relevant and valuable information that can help them achieve their goals in relation to the type of business that you're offering. It's definitely about your customer. It is about that. There's a golden rule to always kind of keep in mind when it comes to your email marketing. And that's definitely that your subscribers will not only read your emails, but they will look forward to hearing from you every single time if what you put in there is valuable and relevant and useful. And that's just how it works. I'm sure that each of you can relate to that to some degree of subscriptions that you have that you actually look forward to getting. And there's a reason behind that, because there's a consistency, there is value, there's interest, and it's helpful to some degree or another. So one of the things that we're going to look at is, initially we're going to look at some of this data. So let's look at some of this. We've had 3.7 billion email users. We're looking at 4.3 billion to grow by 2022. And that's about half the world's population. 2/3 of customers have made a purchase as a direct result of an email marketing campaign. Only 20% of leads that are sent directly to sales are qualified, meaning that they need to be nurtured via email and great content. And we're going to talk about that, what that means to nurture a relationship and not be so pushy in the sales. Email is 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined. They're also very important aspects of digital marketing and inbound marketing, which I'm going to touch on towards the end, because email is part of a greater part of inbound marketing. I think one of the best reasons to use email marketing is that you own the channel, and outside of any kind of compliance regulations, there's no external entity that can impact how, when, or why you reach your subscribers. So you own this medium, and it's a very powerful medium to use. So let's see. So different uses for email marketing. What are some of those? The uses of email marketing are many. They can be used to build relationships. They can be used for brand awareness, so that you can keep your company and your services top of mind for the moment when your prospects are ready to engage. I think that's been one of the most successful for us, is that I know that by sending out, I think we send out 2 here at Designs Interactive. There's a kind of a monthly newsletter that's composed of 2 relevant articles that relate to the services we offer, some company news, a featured project. And then we also send out a direct email that's related to our webinars. And so those just kind of keep people in the top of awareness. Many times I'll get a reply to an email newsletter that will say, hey, Orhan, I've been thinking about needing to get in touch with you. Thank you for sending the email out. Call me. There's a project I need to work on, because I'm in their inbox on a consistent basis. And so everybody in their businesses have very busy schedules, and this is a way to just kind of be in front of them. Great use of email marketing is content promotion. So when we're writing blog content, article content, this is a great way to get it into someone's inbox. We'll look at that in a little bit. It's definitely great for lead generation. And so, asking people to subscribe to your mail list on your social channels, on your website, etc., then allows you to begin to build the relationship and with them, so that when it comes time for them to purchase or buy, you will be one of the ones that they will consider. Email is great for product marketing. I mean, we get that. I subscribe to a bunch of stuff. And so anytime there's a new thing at Cabela's, guess what? It shows up in my inbox. And I got to say, I do buy from it. Whether or not I need it or not, it's a different story. And one last area is lead nurturing. Excuse me. you know, by putting out the content there that can help them succeed in their goals, you're going to build that relationship. So let's get started with some email marketing. Excuse me. So one thing to keep in mind, that average customers receive about 121 emails per day. That means if you're not taking the time to think about what you're doing, to strategize what you're doing, to oversend, undersend, then chances are you're not going to get seen, or you're going to get deleted. Worst of all, you'll be sent to the spam folder. So some of the things that you want to think about when initially thinking about your email marketing strategy. Number one is, let's define the audience. An effective email is a relevant email. So think about, who is this person receiving this? What are their interests? What are they? Why would they want to read this? Understand what they want, and tailor that email campaign to that audience needs. Now, this is going to get into a little bit of segmenting mail lists, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that momentarily. But segmenting means that I have different mail lists inside of my email software. I may have one for clients. I may have one, well, let me use myself as an example. I have a mail list that's just for clients. I have a mail list that is for seminar, webinar participants. I have a mail list that is for subscribers. I have a mail list that's for media press. And so as you can see, I have these different lists, so that just recently I needed something to go out about ADA compliance, and I just really needed that to go out to my clients. And so that went to that list. So I targeted an email that was relevant to them, only went to web client based, and it was received, and my open rate was really high. So again, that's something to take into consideration as you begin your email process, is, do I need different lists, and do I need different segments that, yes, I can send one email to all of them, or if there's something particular I need to reach. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And then definitely establishing your goals in your strategy. What do you want to happen? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to download something? Do you want them to watch something on video? So whatever those goals may be, and you need to, one useful thing is research the average email stats for your industry and use them as benchmarks for your goals. And so here's a screenshot of some industry related average open rates. And an open rate means that they opened your email. And so if 100% means 100% of people that you sent your email to opened it. That never happens. It's just not how it works. And then mean click-through rate means that they opened the email, and then one of the hyperlinks that you built inside of your email, they actually clicked through, whether that brought them to the website, a landing page, a Facebook page, something else. And so in these categories of consumer products, you have an average of a 17% open, 4% click. Marketing agencies, 18% open. Marketing agencies clicks are 5s. Healthcare, medical, 19% open, 3% click. So what this does is this gives you kind of an average industry, so that once you start tracking your data, you can see where you fall along with others in your industry. A couple other tips on email strategies is making sure that you have a way for people to sign up for your email. So that can be done on your website. You can have, I know on Facebook, you can have join mailing list that then ties to things like MailChimp and Constant Contact. That's a very important part. So that's another thing. Make sure that you have that available for people to subscribe. When you're out at networking events and you collect business cards, one of the practices I've done is every time I collect someone's business card, every couple of weeks, I'll stack them on my desk. And then what I actually go do is I enter them into a temporary list in my Constant Contact, and then I send them a welcome email that's relevant to the event I was at. So last week I was attending a Susan G. Komen big wig announcement fundraiser at a local casino. And so the 7 or 8 cards that I collected that night, the next day, I typed up a quick message saying, hey, it was great to meet you at last night's event. I have added you to our mail list. If you would like to unsubscribe, please do so here. But also, here are links to our social media pages. I encourage you to like our page. And here's the great part. I ask, please send me yours, because I want my relationships to be built on, I want to follow your stuff on social media just as much as I want you to follow mine. And that's how I build our list. You know, is it slow? Yes. Is it take time to do? Absolutely. Is it targeted? Very much so. And do I have a higher retention rate of those? Absolutely. So that's, you know, one way of doing that I've done over years. Another thing to think about when you're doing your email strategy is making a schedule. And this involves a calendar. And what that means is, you know, decide when is your email newsletter going to go out? When is your thing going to go out? Put this on a calendar and make it consistent. One of the most important things that make email campaigns successful is their consistency. And so you want to make sure you're consistent with that. Going back to what I said a minute ago about they're entering into a relationship with you, and that they have agreed to give you their email address. And what they're asking for you is a commitment to send them important, relevant, valuable stuff on a consistent basis. And then, of course, measure your results. We'll be talking about analytics. One way of doing that is analytics. So another way that you can build your list, because again, we're trying to get people to come in. I mean, I constantly have clients asking, can you buy me emails? And I don't do that because it's irrelevant, it's obnoxious. I can buy you 5,000 email addresses, but do they really want you? Will you be blocked as spam and stuff? So, which leads to, well, how do I build my list? Well, one of the ways I told you about that I do with the business card collection. But the other ways is you can create online ebooks that people can download by giving you their name and email address, white papers, infographics, create reports or studies, checklists, webinars. Guess what? All of you guys that are here today are going to be put into my mailing list. And that is an invitation for you to be in our mailing list and on social media in exchange for this valuable time that I'm giving. So those are fun to do. So those are really helpful in building, you know, followings and relationships, etc. So here's one example that I got. A lot of this is me talking, and I will make a recording of this available on our YouTube page and send that to you, because I know that a lot of my webinars are more talk oriented. So if there's some stuff that I'm saying that's useful, just know that I'll send you the link so you can go back and you can listen to it over and over, and you can share it with your friends too. And I won't even ask for their email address. So here's an example of a newsletter that we do for a local listening room. They have some really great music artists and performers. And so this is an example of their newsletter. Obviously, it's a screenshot. Each month, we create this very pretty calendar of what's coming up for them. And then we have the artists. And then down here is where we can then, here's one of those call to actions where we're asking them to click through and go to the website to look at tickets and more information. And then also, you know, support us. They're a nonprofit. And so as you shop on Amazon, and if you incorporate Dyson House, 0.5% will go to that. And then another thing we like to include is that we have show sponsorships for this client, for this customer. And these shows have over 3,000 attendees per year, 75 plus shows, and it's a nonprofit. So again, call to action here. So this is an example of one of those newsletters. Let's see, this one does. This is another one. We'll come back to we got a couple examples I kind of sprinkled in through the presentation itself. Let's see. So here's another one here where we actually have, you know, welcome. This is a welcome one here, focusing on for this restaurant here in South Louisiana, coming up on football season and the LSU Tigers, and so we really focus on catering to them, to this restaurant to cater. We do some advertisements talking about their keto and vegetarian. They expanded the restaurant for a side facility here that you may be able to see. And so we talk about that. And then we also push for reviews in our newsletters, you know, encouraging people to leave reviews on the two platforms that they have, which is Facebook and Yelp. So again, long format, easily scannable, pleasing layout. easy to follow, those type of things. And so those make it successful here. There we go. And so, and then of course you need your footer. We'll talk about that stuff here. So let's talk about various parts of an email. Let me go back one here, actually. Let's talk about this here a little bit more. Go here. All right, let's talk about the sections of an email. So the sections of an email newsletter involve the header, which is usually done with some type of graphic or graphic with the logo of the business or something of that nature. Then here we have the click-throughs, the hyperlinks. So really, it's great for them in this format to look at your full newsletter, but I really want them to go to the website. I want them to look at the menu. I want them to look at the catering. I want that. This is a new sign up, so we're welcoming them. You know, that's always kind of good to do. Always mentioning, hey, if you don't want to be receiving this, click here. Then there's the copy that goes on. There's the images, call to action. So if you notice, there's a lot of call to actions in this one. There's click here, click here, click here. All of those things, and that's with that click-through rate. That's how we track that. But you really want some great images. You want strong call to actions. You want the email to be timed. I know in MailChimp, they allow you the option of letting MailChimp to decide the best time to send that client newsletter based on the behavior patterns of their subscribers. That's a great tool to be able to use. But if you don't have that, a lot of times 11 a.m. Tuesday, interestingly enough, is the best time to send a newsletter or an email. And also, we'll talk about mobile, but 55% of emails are opened on a mobile device. So you have to make sure that you are mobile responsive. One of the most important parts of an email is the subject line. Many times, that's all people read, is they'll see the subject line. And so those 7 or 8 words are the most valuable that you can use. And then they may just delete it. And that's okay, because at least they saw who it was from, what the subject line was, what it was relevant to, and you've touched them in that kind of marketing capacity. They've engaged you for those couple seconds. And honestly, that's the greatest result you can get, is just that process there. So always keep in mind about your subject line and how important that is. So one of the things that the lead nurturing, right? So what we're talking about here is, how do I set, what are the processes in like a workflow? So, and the campaign. So there's a couple different kind of campaigns as far as, you know, someone that's new that signed up or that you signed up. And it's about that nurturing process. You don't want to come at them, you know, 1,000% that is salesy. You want to build a relationship. So the welcome campaign, this is something that welcomes new subscribers and makes them feel comfortable. It's a simple introduction email, and then there may be a what's next email. So in the one I described to you that we do, it's welcome, thank you, good to meet you last night at the fundraiser. And what's next? Well, here's our social media. Please follow us. And then that's it. Just keep it very simple and friendly. The next type of lead nurturing is an education campaign. And this educates subscribers about challenges they may face, possible solutions, and then explore further about your own brand. This is kind of what we do with our blog articles. We write articles that individuals can use to help them grow their businesses in digital marketing and web and branding and all of those things. And so I'm able to educate them with those articles. And then so I'm able to, you know, touch on issues. Right now, you know, one of the hotter issues is the ADA compliance and lawsuits. So American with Disabilities Act. And if your website is not ADA compliant, you're opening yourself up to a lawsuit. And so we've really focused the last few months on that and just educating people about what that means, resources that they can do. And it's very helpful. Also, we can do educational campaigns that offer free tools and resources. Webinars, there we go again with that webinar thing. Exclusive content, you know, the resources and tools are great when we're writing articles about search engine optimization and how Google works and what Google paid means, et cetera. Those really help out a lot. And then another education topic is, show how your product or service can resolve buyer challenges. So again, you're creating this process, you're creating this workflow that you're sending people on a periodic basis. And then there's the closing campaign. And this is where you convert your lead into a loyal customer and you gather feedback on your services or to help you understand what needs to be improved. So, you can do that by offering a free consultation and seek feedback. You can address common objections that your leads may have to buying your product. What are those? And then learning more from those. So again, that's a great example of some different type of lead nurturing campaign types. So what we're going to look at now also is the different types of newsletters that we can have. Because again, it's such a great platform. There's so many different things that we can use it for. So one of the ways is it keeps the audience in the know. You really want your audience educated and informed and up to date. Full newsletters, like I showed you, that's a full. I call it a long page format with relevant article, relevant company news, relevant resource, relevant download, relevant video, relevant free recipe, relevant coupon, relevant discount offer, etc. So that's kind of a more full newsletter. Simple single campaign blast, a card or an announcement, 20% off today on these shoes, or something that is just single one item focused. A business letter, if there's some company announcement that needs to be done, change in terms of conditions, change in billing practices or policies, do it as a business letter. Press releases, we do a lot of press release for our clients and for ourselves to local media. And so we have one template that we set up inside of Constant Contact that is used for press releases, and a mail list that goes straight to that. So that if we have an event announcement, a product launch, a rebranding, a new client acquisition that has high economic impact, we'll send out press releases. And then another one is if there's a discount code or something that they can use on a purchase, that's another great. So there's lots of different ways that you can use newsletters, and it's only really limited by your imagination. So one of the things we want to be able to do is we want to be able to attract leads, the lead magnet. So there's some tips and ways to do that. First thing, it always should be relevant to your prospects. But here's a few other things. So make your offer solution-oriented and actionable, which means provide practical information that solves a problem and create a realistic way to achieve the solution. So that's one way to, that's a great lead magnet. Create your offer with the future content in mind. So there's nothing worse than signing up for a great offer only to be disappointed by the content that follows. But make sure your offer is aligned with the value that you provide throughout your relationship. But otherwise you run the risk of damaging the trust. Treat your lead magnet as a stepping stone to your paid solution. So the point of your email list is to eventually guide subscribers to a paid offer to buy something, right? I mean, we're generating revenue. You offer free content to demonstrate the value that you provide as a company, right? And so those free offers should eventually lead to your product or service. So the ADA compliance article that I referenced in the publications we did on that led to an offer. If you would like us to review your website and see what needs to be done to make it ADA compliant, contact us. And so the content was strategically placed to be informative and helpful. And if they stop there, that's great. And then there was also the option, if you'd like us to help you with that, here's how to do that. So that's how that works. So that's why there's the strategic part in there, causes of solutions. And then also, lastly but not least, is create offers that are relevant to each stage of the buyer's journey. So in other words, what is something that would be of interest to someone who has never purchased from you? What is something that would be of interest to someone who is a infrequent purchaser? And then what is something that would be relevant to someone that's a frequent client? So again, that's very important parts to keep in mind as you're trying to create that magnet. etc. Here's an example of, you know, that single offer kind of thing. Hey, $10 off. Enter email address here. Activate my call. I love how they do this. They say, I refuse my $10 off. This is well done. It's simple. It's clean. It's visually pleasing. It's easy to follow. We've all gotten these. Here's an interesting little bit of data, is that people who buy products marketed through email spend 138% more than people that do not receive email offers. That's from Hatchbuck. And so what they're saying is people are going to spend some money with you, right? Or, you know, to some degree, but the spend after an email offer is so much more greater because because of the process that's followed with that. So that's a great way of looking at that. Little bit of side note, a little bit of things to keep in mind. 48% of emails are opened on mobile devices. So you definitely want to make sure that your you can test these things nowadays is mobile compatible, mobile friendly, strong calls to actions, large buttons, etc., that are easily scanned on our smartphones. Only 11% of email templates are optimized for mobile, so you really want to check out that. 69% of mobile users delete emails that are not optimized, and so you've done that. As you're going through your email, if it's hard to read, you delete it. So just keep that in mind. And then 64% of your decision makers read their emails on mobile. So again, considering that 48% are open on mobile devices and 64% of our decision makers are using it on mobile devices, you definitely want your email blast marketing newsletter to be mobile friendly. So let's look at next part is some best practices, just some general best practices for email. Here's an example of how an email may be viewed. And so you want to make sure that your call to action is clear. So here you kind of got, there's a couple different ways. You can either do the company logo here, a headline here with your large image with some call to action photos here and a button. Some formats are just the main headline, image, call to action button. And then this is where you kind of break it up. But again, they're still easy to read, easy to follow, easy to understand on a mobile device. So again, test those out. And that's where the great part comes in on testing these. So a couple of things to think about with email marketing. One is compliance and spam. So let's talk about spam for a minute. So this is kind of under the email regulations. So CAN spam compliance, CAN spam is an acronym that means controlling the assaults of non-solicited pornography and marketing, because sometimes the two do go together. In practice, it's a way to protect your subscribers' rights to only receive emails that they've requested. The law passed in 2003 applies to any commercial emails used to business purposes. So here's ways to ensure that your emails are CAN spam compliant. Include your company name and address in every email. I believe in one of the examples I showed you earlier here, if you notice in the footer, you've got the company, well, the name is here, I'm sorry. The name is here, and at the bottom of the footer, they have the address. So you want to include that. Place visible unsubscribe links here if you wish to change or unsubscribe. That's an important part of there. Use real email addresses in the from field or reply to. So when you're setting up your account, say in MailChimp or Constant Contact, it would maybe your name at yourcompany.com or info@yourcompany.com. And then also another important part is that write subject lines that coincide with the content of your email, so that your words that are in your subject line relate to actually what's inside of that email. Another important part of this is the GDPR, something else to keep in mind, which is General Data Protection Regulation. And what that does is it's about giving your customers the right to choose. They choose your emails, they choose to hear from you, they choose your products, and that is really what inbound marketing is about. So an important note about GDPR is that it only applies to businesses that operate in the European Union. So what the point of this is that if you're sending emails that are outside the United States, you want to make sure that that you are GDPR compliant. You know, we have clients, especially in South Louisiana, that are global industry, global product providers that ship products across the seas. And so, you know, that's something to keep in mind, that you want to make sure that you're compliant with that as well. It's similar to the canned spam American deal. A couple other things is double opt-in for email. So if someone signs up for your email, they will get a double opt-in, which means they get something to verify in their email inbox to verify who they are, so it's not spam. And then, you know, another one is you recently decided, here's another version of that. So it's a way of confirming your email itself, etc. Another couple things about keeping out of spam filters is minding your copy. So avoid using all caps, multiple exclamation points. I'm guilty of that, and I like all caps on some things. But those are spam triggers. There's certain words that are spam triggers. Click below, order. And so you want to make sure that you're aware of your copy. Another thing is reliable email service provider. That's a big deal. You know, obviously there's larger ISPs, internet service providers, and also the Constant Contact and MailChimps. By implementing the double opt-in, you're less likely to go to a spam filter. So a couple other things to think about there. So next, we're going to look at analyzing your email marketing results with some analytics. So one of the things that's very, very important is that not all emails lists are created equal. Some audience prefer personalizations, and others think it's spammy. Some audiences like bright, eye-catching call to action buttons, and others will prefer a more subtle call to action. So how do you know? How do you know which is which? So one way of doing that is what's called A/B testing, A/B testing. I'm testing A campaign against B, and I'm gonna see what results are better. The way to do this, it's called split testing. It's a way to see which email performs best with your audience by testing and analyzing results of email A against email B. So the way you actually do that is on an email campaign, you select one variable to test at a time. That's one variable. So whether that is, on one email version that I sent, I'm going to have one subject line, and the second one I'm going to have a different subject line. On one email, I'm going to have one call to action, and the other one I'm going to have a different call to action. In one email, I'm going to use this type of image that has a photograph. The second one, I'm going to use this type of image that is non-photo but just text oriented. And then you create two versions of that email, one with and one without the variable. You allow your emails to be sent out simultaneously for a period of time. And then you look at your results. And then what you'll find is in the analytics based on open rate, click-through rate, which we'll be going through here shortly, which one performed better. And so that way you know that your overall audience responds better to, say, the subject line that contained these words, or the call to action that was bright or not bright, etc. And so then what you'll start doing is you'll begin creating your future emails based on that data. And after a period of time, you want to test it again. It does take a little bit of time to do that. I totally agree. And being a small business person myself, time is a resource. But it does prove beneficial as far as the success of the email and how it's received, and the click rate and open rate, and ultimately the purchasing. So that's another very important thing to keep in mind. So there's certain key performance indicators when it comes to email. And that's what we're going to talk about here. So what they do is key metrics to pay attention to when you're evaluating the effectiveness of your email marketing campaign. So deliverability is one. That measures the rate at which the emails reach your intended subscribers' inboxes. So how many got in there? Did they get blocked? Did they get undelivered? Where's the email address is irrelevant? So the deliverability is one. So how much did we get? The second part is your open rate. So how is the percentage of people that actually open your email once it reaches their inbox, right? The next thing is click-through rate, is the percentage of the people that clicked on your call to actions. And then the other key performance indicator that's not listed on this slide is unsubscribes. How many people unsubscribed from that newsletter blast? And then the conversion rate that is listed here means that they clicked here off the email and they say they went to my website and they didn't leave the website. They actually purchased something, or they clicked the download, or they gave me, you know, the information. And so my conversion rate. So there's a delivery rate average. There's the open rate average. We kind of looked at some of those earlier. But what you want to begin to look at is what in your industry, what are the averages on those, so you can see how effective or ineffective yours are being. And then by doing those, then you're able to understand better your return on investment of your email marketing campaign. But again, very important stuff to think about, because we really want we want results on this. So how do I improve email results? Well, let's look at deliverability. Follow best practices when it comes to avoiding spam. Remove inactive people from your email list to keep only engaged subscribers. Honestly, you know, I know with me, I get a list every time somebody unsubscribes. I get an email, and it used to bug me, but I'm also adding people back. And I would rather a smaller mail list with a higher engagement, open rate, click-through rate, conversion rate than a very, very large email list with little to none of those actions. So the way I kind of look at that is, okay, well, that person unsubscribed, they're not interested. It makes more room for someone else that would be. The way to improve open rate is play with the language in your subject line to entice people to click on your email. And that's the way you can do some of that A/B testing. Also, adjust the time and day that you send your email to see what works best. We play with that quite a bit internally. And then also, again, back to the unsubscribes is, you know, make sure that one of the things is that whether the email you sent is aligned with your brand or your brand message or what you're trying to say. And if there is a disconnect, that will result in people unsubscribing. So, you know, there could be a valuable lesson in that. So being a small and medium-sized business, there's definitely some tips on that. Things that we need to think about when it comes to that. So what we do is we think about you know, emails that are triggered by an action perform 3 times better than the nurture emails, or drip campaigns they call them too. Keep in mind that when it comes to B2B, 86% of professionals email is their preferred communication channel. So that's good. That's 60% of marketers believe that email marketing provides the positive return on investment. Click-through rates are 47% higher for B2B emails than B to consumer. So so we're a business to business. We sell services to other businesses. So our click-through rates are higher than someone of our clients that are business to consumer. Oddly enough, subject line emojis account for an increased open rate of 56% of brands. The power of an emoji, who would have ever have known? Some email marketing stats if you're a business to consumer, a B2C. 78% of consumers have unsubscribed from this because a brand was sending too many emails. So how many is too many? Well, it depends on your customer. It depends on the time of year. It depends on what you're selling, and there's really no formula for that. My rule of thumb is I would rather less frequent, higher quality emails rather than more frequent, less quality emails. Over 90% of consumers check their emails daily. Video increases your engagement by 64.8%. And email subscribers are 3 times more likely to share social content than others. So again, that is some important things to kind of keep in mind with that. Let's see what else we got here. So here I've got, so this is where we're talking a little bit about those providers. As you can see on the right side, there's a ton of email providers that can do this. And I mean, I can be honest with you, I may know a quarter of those. On the left, these are some of the more popular ones that people use. I know that we're a heavy user of MailChimp. I have Constant Contact, iContact, Infusionsoft. So they're all subscriber based. So in it, basically you're renting their software, but the benefits, there's a lot of benefits in those aspects of that, because you're able to look at the analytics, we're able to look at the data, we'll be able to track results, etc. I know MailChimp has a great A/B testing platform and it's built into it. I mentioned earlier, MailChimp also has the choice of best times to send an email. So you've created an email campaign. You can either send it now, schedule it. There's a button on there that says let MailChimp decide, and it utilizes the data behavior of your subscribers to say, on average, what time or what day they open it, and it'll make that suggestion for you. So some key takeaways. 93% of B2B marketers use their email to distribute their content. 99% of consumers check their email every day. 83% of B2B companies use e-newsletters as part of their content marketing program. 40% of B2B marketers say email newsletters are most critical to their content marketing success. And it's estimated that the US will spend over $350 million on email advertising in 2019. Mobile opens accounted for 46% of all email opens. Can you tell I like statistics? Actually, I like statistics just a lot, just because it kind of gives me information validation on decision making. 35% of business professionals check email on a mobile device, and 80% of business professionals believe that email marketing increases customer retention. So, what does all this mean? That email is powerful and it's useful and it's being used, and if it's used in the right way, that it can produce the results. So kind of in summary, what we've kind of talked about here is best practices, kind of keeping the strategy in mind for your email campaigns, creating a schedule, a calendar, whatever that may be, for your business, and keeping it consistent, keeping the design and organization very nicely done, adding different ways of increasing that email list. But I think one of the biggest takeaways, and a reminder if you'd like to use the chat feature for any specific questions, but one of the most important things for me in email is honoring that relationship, honoring that agreement that has been made, and providing valuable content. Yes, we all want to be successful in our businesses, and we want to generate sales and leads, etc. And the surefire way of doing that is to put out good content, valuable, interesting, useful, helpful, and the rewards that you will receive on that are pretty substantial. Now, email marketing, I kind of mentioned a minute ago, is a larger part of what we call inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is a holistic, data-driven approach to marketing that attracts an individual to your brand via multi-marketing channels and then converts them into customers. So inbound, that is blog content on your website, email newsletters, social media, Facebook and YouTube, and all of those things, that we're putting out this really relevant content that is useful to people, so that when they come time to decide if they want to need our product or service, that because we've provided such value, they will engage us. They're more likely to come to us and ask, for a quote or a consultation. Outbound versus inbound, cold calling, cold emails, interruptive ads. Outbound marketing is very marketer centric. It's very much around the marketer, where inbound, search engine optimization, blogging, attraction, is very focused around the customer. And obviously the average cost per lead is much less on inbound because you're creating valuable content and that it's being effective, and the return on that is more direct. The overall methodology behind inbound marketing is that we attract, we convert, we close, we retain. Now, as you notice on here, there's nothing about closing a sale. Inbound marketing is not about closing the sale. It's about creating the relationship. The sale will come after. So we attract people to our company by posting blogs, by having relevant keyword searches, by using great content on our social media, by boosting and targeting our social media advertising. And then there's the call to action. We want them to fill out a form. We want them to download a white paper or an ebook that we've created, or a checklist. And we create landing pages on our website that once we've attracted them, that can give them this information. Then to close them, once they've given us that email, then we work them into the workflows. We talked about workflow earlier, the nurturing welcome email that then goes into the educational email, that then goes into the closing email. So that process. And then by doing this successfully, then you can retain them, and you retain the relationship by doing webinars, by doing events, by doing gatherings, by keeping great things in their inbox that are of a social nature, and most importantly, putting out very smart content. The funnel, the way that works in inbound is, again, you get traffic, you get leads, then you get customers. So by creating blog content and doing search engine optimization and promoting all this on your social media sites, you gain attention. By placing calls to action throughout the website and on the email blast, etc., that lead to landing pages that have forms. The visitors fill out the forms to get whatever you're offering. They become a lead. And then you can send your lead those automated emails, the welcome email, the nurturing email, the educational email. Then that gives your sales team lead intelligence, so that they have this information about who was interested in that. We did I forget what it was, a while back, we did an article post on mobile responsiveness, I believe is what it was. No, I'm sorry. It was HTTPS security in your web address bar. So we write about what that secure link and why Google wanted it. And then after we sent out that email, we actually pulled a report and we looked at who opened that. And then I contacted them directly and said, hey, I noticed that you read the article and this is of something of interest. And out of the 10 people that actually did that, 3 of them did hire us to make their site secure. And so again, it's lead intelligence. It gives, strategic information for your sales team to follow up with consumers. And how wonderful is that for that customer to know that we're paying attention to what they're doing. And again, all that goes into the analyzation, which is the last step, is to analyze the success of your marketing campaigns and determine which areas need further optimizations. It's all about the process. It's all about testing it. So it's really a great thing to do. So again, any questions you have, please feel free to put that into the chat box. And thank you for spending an hour today with me. And what I'm going to do, you're going to get a welcome email using my own best practices. And what that's going to contain is obviously a welcome message. It is going to contain a link to a PDF file of the slides. And it's also going to have an embedded link to the YouTube version of this presentation that I've recorded. And that way you can kind of keep that if you want to reference it back. And it's also going to invite you to follow us on our social media, Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all those fantastic tools. We have a lot of fun with that. And then at any time, if you ever have questions or, you have a particular maybe problem that you're having or you're not understanding something, one of the things I love doing is I love answering questions. So you will have my email address through this and contact information. Please feel free to reach out and ask questions. I'm all about that. Those people that know me know that to be very true. And so that's one of the reasons I do what I do in the business that I do it in. So again, I don't see any questions coming up. We've got a couple minutes left before the end of the hour. And again, thank you for spending your time with us today. And we've got another one coming up. You'll be getting the schedule coming out here pretty soon. And thank you again. And best of luck with your email marketing processes.